Side note here, in Billy's book, he's always making references to how people are led astray by what he calls religious heresies and wrong thinking and so forth. Well, to some extent, he's probably right. I'd like to point out something here that he's talking about in reference to religions and power of thought. He's commenting on the idea that people create the concept of God. We're not born with that idea in mind. When you get a certain age, you're taken to a church and you're taught the stories of Christianity, and you're taught that there is a God who created you. And as soon as you find out that, gee, somebody made me or created me, then right away, you feel like you should have a little respect for this, whatever it is. We never see a God. No one's really sure there is one, but we manage to manifest the reality of one by continuing to concentrate on the idea. People who are into believing into God, and I'm not against that, you believe whatever you need to believe for yourself. If you're into that, you manifest that eventually where you begin to believe that it's very real. If you think about it hard enough and reinforce it with study, with lifestyle and other things, then it becomes very real to you. It's just as real as those shoes that you bought over the weekend. If you believe an action is possible, it becomes very real. And quite often, and the point Billy was making is quite often so-called religious miracles, that's exactly what they are. When people think that they have seen an angel or the Mother Mary or Jesus or something in the sky, quite often that's exactly what that is. They have put so much force into the thought of creating these things that they believe it's actually real. Someone else would not see it at all, and they think, that you're probably off your nut or whatever. But a miracle is a term for something that enlightened people cannot explain. There are no miracles because everything can actually be explained through the laws of the Spirit, the logic of the Spirit. There are spiritual and creational explanations for all of these things, but these people are not aware of it. So, unfortunately, this happens to an awful lot of people. And Billy makes reference to that several times, how many of the so-called miracles throughout life are nothing more than simple things that can be explained spiritually, but because of the ignorant thinking of people, as he puts it, they just don't know any better, so they think it's a miracle, and that even reinforces these thoughts even stronger to them that it really happened, it's real. So now they're more and more convinced it's real, and they're led farther and farther astray from the real truth about what life really is. Your actions and decisions are only in small part caused by your material conscious mind. Now, to define this term, if you're not used to hearing it, the conscious mind is your conscious mind is your upfront thinking processes that you use all the time to gather information. All of your senses, sight, feel, touch, smell, hearing, taste, and so forth, are connected to your conscious mind. It's your conscious mind that, does the speaking and talking and listening and hearing. It gathers data and it expresses data. But behind the scenes, if you'll have your drawing there of our little material and spiritual head, you'll see that we also have a subconscious, which contains all of our memories and inner workings. It's the computer of our conscious mind. And then we also have a psyche, which is our storehouse. It's our feelings and how we think about things. It's our persona. That's in there. That's very important because the psyche is actually kind of who we are. That is the collection of all of your attitudes towards everything. And that becomes your persona, so to speak. And then there's the spiritual side also. So when I refer to the material conscious, I'm talking about the material side of yourself and the conscious part of your mind. Your subconscious mind, though, actually, again, is the real force. It contains all of the secrets, the great mysteries all about yourself. It contains all those interesting little things about you when you were young, growing up. All of those experiences, all those buried memories or so forth are down there in your subconscious mind. Your mind, it really has a marvelous memory. It's just that we choose not to find things, go looking for things, and we don't put any interest in trying to remember most things. We just let them fly right by us, but they're in there. You see, the life destiny of each person is right in there, tucked away in those memories. The subconscious is where you can take control of your life, however, though. You can override all of your upbringing and environment. There's lots of talk about, we are, where we've grown up, and there's certainly some truth to that. If you grow up in a very rich neighborhood, with this proverbial silver spoon in your mouth, if everything goes your way, you have your own sailboat when you're 10, your own Ferrari by the time you're 16. I'm sure I'm talking to a lot of you that have that. If you're in that particular position, then you've grown up, with a lot of things in common, taken for granted, and you led a pretty posh life as far as material world, and that certainly affects who you are, as opposed to a poor fellow who may grow up in Africa, never know who his parents are, starving to death, full of illness and so forth. He lives in a totally indifferent environment. And of course, all over the world, there are varying degrees of environments and so forth, and types of upbringing, types of belief structures, type of knowledge about things that are pushed onto us. So, of course, those are major factors in our life. But you can override all of these. The personal power of thought and the personal attitude of your life step into action. You can do that. Vast power can be created and called upon when the individual really becomes aware of the potential of his subconscious. Instead of dealing with everything with your conscious mind and not taking any control over your subconscious mind and programming it, then you are just exactly how the world dictates to you. If you make no effort to change or control yourself, you are going to be just the way the world dictates, just the way your environment dictates. How often have we portrayed the story in books and films where the rich guy's got his nose up in the air and has no contact with the middle-class guy, and the great moral of the story is that he learns a great lesson of humility somewhere and becomes one of the guys at the end and starts acting like a regular guy? Well, that's a typical idea that happens to all of us in some way or another. We are all a collection of all of our environments and experiences in those environments as we grow up, right? Well, if we don't make any effort to change that, there's no change in ourself. We just continue rambling on, being who the world around us dictates who we will be. Cause and effect. We react with our material mind, respond to it, and we don't make any effort to make any changes. But if we do, if through meditation, acquirement of new knowledge, through clear observation, we start recreating our viewpoints on things, if we start providing new knowledge about the world through clear observation, maybe read a book or listen to a tape or something and get some new ideas, we actually do change not only our old thoughts, but we start acquiring all these new thoughts and we become a new person. There actually can be major personality changes. Definitely an improvement in character, integrity, and things along these lines. So we certainly have control over our subconscious, and we can certainly program it. That's what we're doing right now as you're listening to this tape. You're starting to add on to your level of knowledge and information. And as you learn to concentrate and practice your exercises and so forth, it starts happening. Your abilities of concentration turn into wonderful moments of meditation. Through the meditation, there are great realizations of self. You become face-to-face with yourself, developing more integrity about who you really are, and you start making changes and adding new things to your character, and life then, you get a firm grip on it. That's when you become a powerful person. Once the individual understands that he can influence and control all this source of decisions and actions, this subconscious, then he wishes he can control it with intentional thinking. So, and then you say to yourself, well, how do I do this? This talk's cheap. Randy, how do I actually go about this to actually control my mind? Well, we're going to clearly explain that again as we go, but it's, for the most part, we're talking about a slow process of learning to concentrate, to develop a meditation immersion. These things have been explained. After you learn to meditate, we're going to learn more about ourselves through waking dreams and asking questions and so forth. So we're developing the tools and the knowledge that we need. And we have to start viewing the world through that keen, clear, pure observation, because we're going to start reprogramming how we think about things. And we're going to get rid of all the value judgments and the smearing and so forth that goes on in our society. And we're going to start seeing things clearly for exactly the way they are. The way you think, the concepts that you think, the thoughts that you have, the wishes, the fantasies when you go to the movies, the books you read and so forth,